Thank you.
Happy Groundhog's Day, everybody. It is a special day. It's my New Year's Day. It's the day when I pull my head out and take a look around at my life, and it was good this morning. It looks like an early spring for Curt. I celebrate quietly and privately at home now, and I watched the movie Groundhog's Day. It had a profound effect on me. And it's about a guy whose life isn't working for him, and he's miserable. And 26 years ago, I knew a guy just like that. And he didn't know why life wasn't working for him, so he got to live the same day over and over for 10,000 years till he figured it out. And what he found out is that if you do the same thing every day is the same. And the second thing is, if you try to be loved by flowing love into you, you'll be miserable. And if you flow the love out, you'll be happy. And so I need to be reminded of that at least once a year. That's why I watch that movie. And that's why I'm a member of the Centers for Spiritual Living. Because I don't want to do the same thing every day. I don't want to have the same experience. And I want to practice my flow of being open to the energy of life and love. So today we're going to talk about the love of God, as if there's any other kind. It's a good segue into the month of January. Last month we talked about the basic principles of our science of mind philosophy. And today, we'll talk about that, and we'll use those steps in the context of love to see if we can learn and look at love a little bit differently. Coming up, we've got some more fun things. We're going to learn to appreciate our bodies. We're going to learn the sacred aspects of loving and sex right here in church. Yeah. Next month, we are going to study the divine feminine and explore that and the blessings that come through expressing divine feminine energy. But today we're talking about love. And that is probably the most important, most complex topic that we have. Experiencing love, giving love, receiving love, making love are all spiritual experiences. They can be, and they're gateways to our experience of God. They're open to all of us anytime, in any place. It's an especially important study. In the Bible, Jesus says, if you don't know love, you don't know God. And Emerson made that even easier for us, and he said, God is love. We are all love, we all want love, and yet that seems to elude us so much. Some people seem to flow love so effortlessly and easily, and some people are still waiting for that touch of divine grace to open up the love in them. Here at the center, we believe that all the blessings of goodness and happiness and truth are open to us right now in this moment. And what keeps us separate from those is the blocks and obstacles that we build up and put in our way. The deeper these, we call them belief systems. And the good ones we don't appreciate as much as the bad ones. And the false ones, we call them, when doing what we know to be true is not getting us the results that we want. Something's got to change. We've got to change our expectation, or we've got to change the way we believe and look at the world. And so that's what we do here on a regular basis, is try to uncover that and uncover those feelings. And the deeper those are, the more set in we don't recognize them as belief systems, and we'll protect them and fight and defend them against anybody, even though they're not quite right, and they're not producing what we want them to do. So the first step in overcoming our blocks and opening our channel is awareness. It's our level of consciousness. If we're looking at life through a small window, all we can receive is a small window of information. And it doesn't take very much to block that. So we work on trying to isolate that and find what those blocks are. Or we can expand our view with new things and new learning to see around it and see everything that goes with it. Step number 1 is to recognize that our life isn't working. In some areas it may work, in some areas it may not. And when we can just simply say, life is not working for me in this area, we open ourselves up to the truth and discovery about ourselves that can make that life work. It's the same thing as when your cell phone dies. You don't think about that for a minute, that the person calling you can't get through, and they're like, what's wrong? And you're like, well, my phone's dead. You don't blame that person. You don't think badly about yourself. You just plug in and get going. I need to plug in. I need to connect and charge up. But that is a little bit harder to do, because when we look at something that we're having an emotional upset around, and I'm upset because I can't get the love in my life that I want, or I'm feeling that absence of the love that I'm expecting, I get blocked by my emotions, by my false beliefs, to where I can't see anything new. These minds are great, but they work at keeping us on an even path. So it's very difficult to get around those blocks that we've put in to protect us or shield us from other things, or that just snuck in when we were unaware. So a trick to do that, instead of your mind tricking you, you can trick your mind. And you look at the thing that you're not emotionally concerned about. So if I'm concerned about love, I want to sit down and have a talk with Curt about money. What he thinks about money, how money works. How do I process money? What are my expectations around money? And write those down. Then go back to love and see if you don't have an interesting experience. That's a way to check in on my level of consciousness. What I think about money is going to be very similar to what I think about love, and what I think about God, and what I think about you. And when I can see that insight and I can open myself up, it's okay, and I feel safer to go in a little bit deeper. Another way to get past those blocks, the most powerful tool I have, is content and context. And it's similar to the first one. But if I want to learn something that I don't know about, I can ask those questions, or I can look at something that I do know about and see what I can learn from what I know, because my brain will accept what I know. And when I apply the truth that I know to the subject that I don't know, I expand in greater understanding. I open my questions up. And that's why when it comes to love, I want to talk about vampires for a second. Obviously. What else would you do? It's because a couple reasons. Number one is, I just happen to know an awful lot about vampires. And so do you. Why? I don't know. Number two, and number 2.5, is that it's silly and it's absurd. And when something's not working in my life, I know that there's a line of programming in my computer, I call my brain, that is silly and absurd, that's causing me to think in ways that doesn't generate the result that I want. So I'm looking for something in here that is silly and absurd. Vampires, to my knowledge, are fictional. but I've never seen one. The day I see one, you won't see me anymore. But let's assume that they're fictional and that the thing that I'm looking for inside the programming of my mind is something that I made up and that I believe and that I hold very dear. So let's talk about vampires. They're dead people who move. They're dead on the inside. And the only way they can experience life is by sucking the life out of somebody else. Somebody who's living and has the life essence in them, they have to get that out, something outside of themselves, and bring it into themselves so they can have a better experience of existence. That is kind of an odd place to be because they are constantly dependent on other people for their existence and the quality of their life and experience. If you and I don't eat, we die. If a vampire doesn't get that life essence and experience into them, they don't die. They just get miserable and very hungry. There are people who feel a calling to feed vampires. The poor vampires have no life. I have some life. I have an obligation and a duty to feed the vampires. And if you can find a vampire who's interested in you enough, they will just eat a little bit. And you just say, hey, just take a little bit out of here. And then they keep you around. And then your whole life is giving your life to feed something that's dead and will never come in. Have you met either one of those people? She doesn't talk to me anymore. But kind of a good analogy. Sometimes we look at love, and we should, as that essence of life. What flows to us. And if it's inside of us, we're having a totally different experience than if we're looking outside of us for it. And that's really weird to say. It's really weird to think about. Where does this come from? Well, I have a pretty good idea where mine came from. And so as I look at that belief system and going back, I know now that I wasn't always at the state of consciousness that I am today. I understand the world and myself in a higher way than I did before. And I know it enough to know that there's more understanding from where I am. When I was born and made out of love, created by love, birthed through love and into the world. There's a theory that, and I can't remember where I got it, but this isn't me, that when we are born and we get into this limited experience that we want, it feels so different from the love we were immersed in, we go into shock like we've been thrown into cold water. And we're like, ah. And the person who wrote this called it separation. Well, it can't be separation because love is all there is. But it feels so different that we don't feel that connection. But I felt that when Mom would come and feed me and hold me and take care of me, and for some reason, she may have had a life or something else going on, but she wasn't always there. And I knew it's really unfair that we humans are born so helpless. Because we get into that uncomfortable state, and the closest thing we have to our former state is when we feel the love of our parents. And we're like, this is closer to home than anything, and I need this. And we're so helpless that if we don't get that attention and love, we die. And that Mom is busy with other kids or whatever, and I have to cry sometimes, or maybe a lot. And the more I cry, the more love, and I get that attention focused on me. So as I think about that for a little bit, it's really enlightening in a shocking kind of way. Before I even knew my name, I had already decided that if I was not loved, I would die. That love was outside of me and only came to me through other people, and that I had to do something to get them to love me. And that's what I built my existence on. As I got older, I would do different things because the crying didn't always work, and I was competing with other kids, and I would do little things, and I would say, hey, look what I can do. And people say, oh, I think the worst thing we do to kids, young kids, is tell them, that is great. That is the most wonderful thing I've ever seen. And they get, whoa, they feel the love, and the love is coming to them, and then they're 9 years old, and they're 12 years old, and they're 15 years old, and they're going, look what I can do. And we don't develop. We're just grasping at whatever ways love can come into us. And it's hard to be that. So as we grow in understanding and awareness, the first thing I tell myself is, people who need love are weak, and people who don't need love are strong, and I want to be one of the strong people who gives the love. So I start studying those lovers, and I start writing down all their behaviors. And these are the manners of love. And if I copy those manners, it's the language of love, then people will feel loved, and I will be a strong, healthy person. Still empty inside, I mimic the mannerisms of love. And instead of being a fulfilling experience, it's a frustrating experience because I said all the right words and I did all the right things, and now you are supposed to love me. And you don't. Then, one day, somebody comes and they just start showering me with this energy and with this love, and I haven't done anything. And this is like, wow, this is what my whole life has prepared me for, is this moment. Somebody sees me, somebody wants me, somebody is giving me this attention and love, and I don't have to do anything for it. Sometimes you get lucky. Usually it's a vampire. And pretty soon you wake up one morning and you're like, how did I spend so long doing this? And is this my life? And I'm still empty inside. And I go through life, and then I start to judge people based on their mannerisms of love. And if they're doing love in the right way, and they're not doing love in the right way, and they come to me and they say, wow, I love you. And I'm like, well, okay, but you can't say it like that. You can't do it like this. If you knew about love like I know about love, you would know never to play that song around me. And then I become a judge on your quality of love. I can tell you if you're loving right, if you're loving wrong, if it's good love, if it's bad love. Yeah. And then I go to where my ego takes even more control. And it tells me that the love I give is my love. And that it generates right here in my heart. And I decide who's worthy of that love and who's not. Or I feel burdened by the fact that I tend to feel that open up for some people and other people not so much. That I am obligated to love. Which is really a bad place to be. None of us wants to be obligated to love. And none of us wants to get the love that's given by obligation. And there we are. And so I start looking at the thing, and I start looking at these belief systems, and I say, hey, if I'm not loved, I will die. Love is outside of me. And I need to do things so that people will give me that love. When I pull that out of my programming into the light of day, it looks a little silly and a lot absurd. Why would I ever expect that that is true and would work? Well, because I've been operating on an infant consciousness. Understanding a little bit more and experiencing a little bit more, I can look at love in a different way. And here at the center, we know that love is all there is. Love is all we are. That love has to build inside us, and nobody can put love inside us. We have to accept that love and accept that our life isn't working in the way to just simply plug into Source and wait to get charged up. No one is blocked from the source of that love and flow. Love is like electricity, and it only works when it is flowing. The electricity that lights this room was made right now. It is used the second it is received, and as long as it's flowing, it's going. Now, we have batteries for electricity, and I don't know if there's types of batteries for love, but not very good ones. The secret to everything is the flow of it. This story about love, when I was looking at love, and I knew all about love, but I was just doing it backwards. The more love we can flow out, the more love we can receive. Draining ourselves out and projecting the flow, always out. It's a cycle of giving and receiving, but the receiving is automatic if we are always giving. In my life before Groundhog's Day, I was looking for love and not finding it because I was looking for the wrong thing in the wrong place. By understanding my beliefs and concepts around love, it opens me up to connect to the juice and the source of life that charges me up. I'd like to invite our practitioners up now. They are people who practice and learn and appreciate the giving of love. If you would like to connect in a physical way and hear the words of truth and love to you, please come up and let them know what you're seeking in life and how truth can help you. If you really want to surprise them, come up and just love them and tell them how wonderful they are. And watch how good they take it. You're on. All right. When we realize and isolate our false beliefs, the other thing we do here at the center is called spiritual mind treatment, which is reprogramming our minds. We do an affirmative prayer, and it goes something like this. That my experience of life is that love is all there is. Love is all there can be, and love is all there will be. My heart, my mind, my whole soul opens up to this love. The love that is not me, the love that is not mine. It flows through me like a river, which was never ending. I don't want to control where it goes. I don't want to worry about the flow stopping. I know that love's in everyone because I see it in you. And I feel it from you to me, and I feel it coming from me out to you. Binding us together, it lets me know that I am part of the whole universe. So taking a deep breath in, as we let that go, let your love flow out beyond your fingers, beyond your heart, beyond your whole body. out of this room and into the city that we live in. Creating light and love and safety. Holding in that spot as these individual prayers finish up and continue. I give thanks for the opportunity to return home to the love from whence I came. To show others by being me that being me is my gift. And that them opening up to being them is their gift and allows love to flow through them. Today is the day the universe gets to be Curt, and the universe gets to be you. In this love and joy, I am thankful for the love that I am. With deep respect for the law that makes it all so, together we say, and so it is.